So
one of our special podcasters.
yes. So, Anne, please introduce yourself and your company and where you're calling from today.
Sure. So I am president and CEO of the Intermodal Association of North America. And I know you have a very sophisticated audience, so hopefully I'm not speaking down to anybody. But for those who don't know what intermodal is basically the transfer of containers from one mode of transportation to the next. So if you're talking about domestic intermodal, it's from truck to train. And if you're talking about international intermodal, it's from ocean carrier to truck to train or to train to truck, etc. And so how all those folks get along is our responsibility. We have about 1,000 members from Class 1 railroads to ocean carriers to dray operators, chassis suppliers, and other vendors, port terminals, etc. Anyone who's engaged in the intermodal space. Today, I am at our HQ, which is in Calverton, Maryland, a little bit 45 minutes outside of DC.
Nice. So IANA, IANA, Intermodal Association North America. I had never heard of it until I was at the cybersecurity conference last year, and I met some of your guys. I had met Piyush from there, and when he told me, by the way, you had just joined then, and I was like, "Oh, makes sense." But it's an organization that's been around for a while, but kind of flew under the radar. I mean, you come from a very high profile. You came from TIA. I think a lot of people recognize your name from there, and I think IANA needs to get a little more sunshine on it, because I think it's so important. And we learned during COVID that if we had some weak areas of visibility, some weak areas where the handoffs didn't happen as easily, and again, because it's not as easy, it was the ports and getting it from the ship to the port to the truck to the train is not easy. That was an area that we really stumbled with. And I think it's always probably one of the hardest parts of the supply chain, because we're also talking about clearing customs, and it's a very difficult area. So who are members of IANA and who should consider being part of IANA?
Well, so you're exactly right, Joe. It's a 34-year-old organization. And my predecessor did a phenomenal job of being what it is, creating what it is, which is this representative voice, really the sole representative voice for the intermodal industry. They hired me, though, because they wanted, to your point, to make it far more public-facing pitch about how important intermodal is. We had an opportunity, I think, to your point, of the supply chain crisis, IANA did, to really make a name for itself. At the time, the thinking was they just did it. And I wasn't there, so I don't know. But I think there is an incredible opportunity now to talk about the value of intermodal. So our members we have 5 different divisions. We have the Marine Division, which includes ports and ocean carriers. We have the railroads, which includes the Class 1 railroads like BNSF and UP, to the short line carriers like Florida East Coast. We have a 3PL division. So my old colleagues at TIA, some of which are sort of both memberships, they have both memberships. And they're the ones who really have railroads as their customer and arranging transportation for the beneficial cargo owner using railroads. And we have a vendor/supplier division. So those folks who make containers, who are chassis providers, et cetera. And then we have, your education folks and your BCOs who are also members.
Nice. So there's a wide range. And by the way, there should be a wide range. And I think before we hit the record button, I said this to you, and I feel like this is very true of our business. The big shippers of the world, whether it's Procter & Gamble or Ford or whoever, they want flow. And then when they get to the logistics providers, we tend to be point solutions with kind of, an inch wide and a mile deep. We really, really, truly understand over the road, because that's what we do, or we understand warehousing, but we don't understand as much about what goes on upstream or downstream of us. And that is a real problem, because that's where the days and the sometimes weeks are lost in our supply chain. And I think the bar just gets higher and higher. So we have to have a better understanding of what goes on. You might say, well, I'm a trucking company. What do I care what happens at the port? Obviously, you're picking up at the port or near the port. So we have to kind of get that flow mindset.
I 100% agree. And the point of intermodal is to be a partner, but also to have leverage the highest best use of each mode. So obviously, an ocean carrier is going vast distances and has an enormous volume, right? They have these thousands and thousands of TEUs. So you need an ocean carrier to do that. With a dray provider, they're doing the sort of the short haul, right? They're going from a warehouse to the port, or a warehouse or the port to the railroad. And then the railroad's going a much longer distance. And so we are all partnered together, but this is the highest best use of the mode. And you're exactly right. The way that we partner together has to be one of knowledge and understanding and appreciation, so that there is this kind of seamlessness about it. We want to sell it as a service product. And in order to sell it as a service product, we have to assure its sort of ease of use.
Yep. Yep. So I'll make sure we put a link to your LinkedIn profile, link to your website, and links so anyone listening can join IANA. But just as important for today is you have a conference coming up, and it starts 2 weeks from today. We're talking on, is it 2 weeks from today, or is it 2 weeks from
2 weeks from yesterday.
yesterday?
Oh
Yeah,
my
Sunday.
gosh.
Or Monday. That's a Monday, because we're talking on Tuesday, the day after Labor Day. So 13 days from now, your conference is in Long Beach. Tell us about that conference. It's not too late to get there.
No, it is not too late to get there. Yes, you can still register. You can register either at,
We'll put a link to the show notes.
yeah, expo2025.com or at intermodal.org. However, so why do you want to go there? Well, how I explain it is, it's either intermodal Christmas or speed dating for intermodal. And both, I think, definitions hold true. The whole community, the universe of intermodal comes out there. And why do they do it? Well, anyone else that they need to talk to who's in the intermodal space is also there. And so they may want to leverage their customer, relationships to have, we have to have this opportunity to sit down and talk through what's happening for next year, what's our outlook for service, what's our outlook for products, et cetera. But so that's where you're speed dating, right? They have these little opportunities to chat with each other, but it's also Christmas, because it's also everybody's coming out and they're going with the express idea of, they want to see the people they work with, they want to see the people that they know, and they want to talk about what's the issues that are confronting them. And there is a commonality of interest, obviously. So we have 1,200 people who come out and they want to talk about the things that have been plaguing them. And, we'll get into some of those issues in a second, but really we're providing that forum.